Welcome, everybody, to The Body Can. It's Dr. Randi Shannon, naturopathic doctor, with naturopathic physician Dr. Joel Wallach, veterinarian first, and author, speaker. I mean, is there anything you haven't done, Dr. Wallach?
Well, I've done a lot of things. I spent 7 years in the Army and 20 years in the Air Force.
You have done so many things, and a hero to many. How are you doing?
Okay, fine. Thank you so very much, and thank you for your service. Thank you for all the great things you do for your community, which expands to America and to the world. So thank you so much, Dr. Randi.
Outstanding. Thank you.
Okay.
So,
all right. What I want to talk about today is that we're going through the fourth wave of this coronavirus thing. All of Europe is shutting down. Italy, the UK, Germany, France, they're all shutting down. No visitors in, nobody out. Everybody's got to, be in their house and so forth. Everybody's got to get the vaccinations. It's like crazy. And the same thing is happening here. We have the top, used to be 6 states, over 1 million cases of the coronavirus. Now we're up to 7 states, over 1 million cases of coronavirus. And there's one more coming right behind it. So by the end of the day, it'll be 9 states, over 1 million coronavirus cases. And it's getting like crazy here. And so many people have been vaccinated, but the vaccines only work if you do other things. Vaccines, as you know, Dr. Randi, do not kill the virus. They just alert your body to the virus. And so when the virus comes, your body knows to send out white blood cells and antibodies, red blood cells, platelets, go kill and eat the virus. But several things have to happen. When you get the vaccination, you're sensitized to the viral DNAs and RNAs. When the bug appears, your bone marrow is supposed to respond by sending out all those cells and antibodies and kill and eat the virus. However, it cannot do that if things are happening. For instance, gluten is the worst possible thing you can eat. Okay? And so everybody has to give up wheat, butter, and oats. There are no such things as gluten-free oats. The gluten in oats is called GLIADIN, okay? And so it doesn't matter what it's called, it's still gluten. Kills the villi, the lining cells of your intestines. Gluten produces a substance called pro-inflammatory cytokines, which over time slowly kills those villi. And so instead of looking like a shag rug in the lining of your small intestine like it should and maximize surface area, it looks like after eating gluten for, say, 10, 12, 15, 20 years or more, your intestines look like a plastic tube, very smooth. You lose 98 to 99% to 100% of your absorptive surface, okay? You start getting all these things doctors call autoimmune, like lupus and fibromyalgia and celiac disease and ulcerative colitis and irritable bowel syndrome, those kinds of things. You get all kinds of asthma and so forth. And then you get osteoporosis and arthritis and all these other diseases, kidney failure, diabetes. These are all nutritional deficiency diseases secondary to gluten killing your intestines. Now, the second thing you got to do is consciously supplement with all 90 essential nutrients, 16 minerals, 16 vitamins, 12 amino acids, 3 fatty acids, so your bone marrow gets what it needs to be able to build the white blood cells and antibodies and red blood cells and platelets. And Dr. Randi is a doctor, as Dr. Shannon when you're in your office, okay? I'm sure somebody affectionately calls you like me, Dr. Randi, but many call you Dr. Shannon. Okay, and they come in and you ask them, well, what's going on? And they say, well, I've got anemia, and doctor gave me a prescription for iron and B12, say a year ago, and I was taking those pills and tablets for 6 months, and they didn't work. Nothing happened, so I have to go in every month for a B12 and an iron shot, and that doesn't work. So he's starting giving me transfusions of blood from somebody else, so I get the red blood cells and the platelets and antibodies and white blood cells and so forth. And I don't like that because I'm sick for 2 to 3 to 5 days after I get the transfusion. So he's suggesting now bone marrow transplant. What do you think? And he said insurance will pay for it, so I don't have to worry about it. Well, that's because the bone marrow is dead. They're not supplementing, and the bone marrow cannot respond to the bug even though they're vaccinated. So now they're talking about these spikes, okay, and the fourth wave here of the coronavirus. because so many people are not responding to the vaccines. That's why all these pharmaceutical companies keep coming out with new vaccines, because people aren't responding to the original ones because of these issues of eating badly and fried foods, processed meats, oils, glutens, wheat, butter, and oats, and sugar. Okay? So, in addition to getting rid of all the bad foods, you got to take the 90 essential nutrients. I like the Big Hammer, the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack, or MSM for the bone marrow health, and vitamin D3 for bone health. I mean, even Fauci says vitamin D3 is good for it. He doesn't know why, but he knows it helps. Because it helps rebuild the bone marrow, which is where your immune system is. And then you've got to do a few other things here. Because when your bone marrow is happy, you're absorbing things, you're supplementing, then your body will respond to the vaccine. Now, the people who are not responding to the vaccines, doctors are blaming these variants. These are sort of spin-offs of the original coronavirus from South Africa and from the UK and from even now San Diego, California. We have so many people coming in illegally from Mexico, and they all have coronavirus, and they're vaccinating them and all this, that, and the other, and it's not helping. Well, that's because all they do is live on wheat, butter, and oats, flour tortillas, spaghetti, pan, which is bread, cerveza, which is beer. And, of course, their beer is called Corona beer. Can you believe that? Like the coronavirus? I thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
And so let's look at Florida specifically here. Florida, okay, when you look at Florida, you guys have 21, almost 22 million people. And right now, let's see here, you're number 3 when it comes to numbers of cases of coronavirus. You're number 3 in America. Out of 50 states, Florida is number 3. You have 2,008,349 cases, and you have 32,757 dead. Okay? Now, when you look at Taiwan, an Asian country that has 23 million people, just, a little bit more than you guys have, they have 9 dead, not 900, not 9,000, but just 9 dead versus 32,000 dead. Actually, of 757, you're really 33,000 dead by the time we get done talking here. And they have less than 1,000 infections, 955, less than 1,000. You have over 2 million. Okay? And so what's going on here? Yet they have 1 million more people than you do, and there's so much less. Now, the reason is, of course, that 40, 50, 60% of the population, depending on the counties, are primarily housed by Latinos, blacks, and also indigenous peoples. So when you look at Florida, 25% of the population of Florida are Latinos, and 18% are black. Now you look at let's see here, New York, which is number 4, right behind you in numbers of cases. New York has 19% Latinos and 19% black. When you look at Texas, who is above you, number 2, when it comes to the numbers of infections and deaths from the coronavirus, they have 39% of the population are Latinos and 14% black. And so, you're kind of a close second. You're a little higher in the black population, a little bit lower in the Latino population, but when you combine them, the total numbers are about the same. So, and you look at California, they're 39% Hispanic and 8% black. Interestingly enough, the state that has the highest rate of Latinos is New Mexico. They're 48% black. And 48% Latinos and 3% black. And they only have, a very small population, 2 million people, like 10% of what you got. And yet, let's see here, their dead is over 3,000, which is a lot for 2 million people, because when you look at other places with 2 million people, they have maybe... let's see here. Let's look at Hawaii, which has about 1.5 million. Okay. They have 28,773 infections, but they only have 454 dead. Okay, because they live kind of half like Asians and are eating rice, which has no gluten in it. And they do supplement with seaweed, which has these trace minerals which are bone marrow-like, so it can make all the white blood cells and antibodies and platelets and red blood cells. But then you compare Hawaii with the same population as Okinawa, one of the blue zones, or Dan Buettner's blue zones. They have the same population as Hawaii, but instead of having 28,773 infections like Hawaii has, they have 8,000 infections. And instead of having, let's see here, they have 452. No, excuse me, that's 454. That's Hawaii. They have 920 dead. So they have a higher death rate, but they have a very lower, considerably lower total infection rate. So it depends on what people eat and what happens to your intestines and so forth, and if you supplement or not. And so Florida's got to get to work here. And so I'm glad you're there because you're helping so many people because, again, this fourth wave is here, and it's kind of going crazy. I want to give you another comparison here, maybe two of them. Let's look at Mexico versus Japan. Japan, the consummate Asian country, lives on rice and corn and sweet potatoes and beans and squash and seaweed, versus Mexico, which everything they eat and drink is made from wheat, barley, rye, and oats. Japan has 452,000 infections. Mexico has 2.2 million infections. Japan has 9,000 dead. Mexico has 196,000 dead. Huge difference. That's because Mexico just lives on wheat, barley, rye, and oats, and Japan doesn't eat very much of that. It's primarily rice and beans and corn and algae. Now, the one that I really want to talk about here is Canada and the United States and California. They both have almost the exact same population, 38 million people. And Canada has 22,000 dead. California has 57,000 dead, double. Canada has not even 1 million infections. They have 919,000 infections. Okay, and California has 3.6 million infections. Okay, and that's because they have such a high Latino. They have 39% Latinos in California, versus Canada has 2% Latinos. Got it?
Wow. Those are some numbers. Those are some statistics, Dr. Wallach.
Yeah. Okay, I got one last one here for you. Vietnam versus Texas. How's that?
Okay.
Vietnam has 96 million people, almost 100 million people. And Texas, let's see here where we're. Oh, here's Texas. Yeah, Texas has 29 million people. So Texas is like 1/3 the population of Vietnam. Okay? And Vietnam has 35 dead. Texas has, as of yesterday, 48,000 dead and 2.8 million infections. And Vietnam has 35 dead and 2,500 infections. It's 2,500 less than 2.8 million. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
is 35 dead less than 47,000? Of course.
Yeah, huge.
Okay, well, what is the diet? Okay, because Texas, like Florida, is, depending on what county you're looking at, 40, 50, 60% are Latinos. Okay, and when you look at Texas, it's the same thing. And Vietnam is 100% like Japan, Asian, and they just live on corn and rice and beans and squash and sweet potatoes and seaweed. When people take our program, I like to throw our seaweed in there. If you like capsules and pills, we have the Fucoid Z, which has, 8 or 9 different algae and seaweeds, and it has all the different minerals from them. And then we do have a liquid form, it's called Z Radical if you prefer liquids. And then we also have Ocean's Gold, okay, which also has 8 or 9 different seaweeds and things, which has all these trace minerals, which are bone marrow likes. So that's why these Asian countries, not only are they avoiding the gluten, but they're supplementing sort of indirectly because they all eat seaweed and algae, which is their source of trace minerals, and that's why they do so well. Whereas Latinos, as close as they get to seaweed is beer, which is made from gluten.
Okay.
Those are what's going on. So, you're in a position to turn Florida around right now. They're the third leading state out of 50 states, number 3 when it comes to the number of infections. I think they're number 4 when it comes to number of dead, but they're number 3 when it comes to number of infections.
And we do have a much, much higher population of older people here. So it probably doesn't...
Well, age is also a factor. Let's see here. Let me get my sheet out here on age real quick. When you're looking at newborn babies to 3-year-olds, newborn to 3-year-olds, when they get the virus, the number that will die is 0.06%. When you're looking at 18-year-olds to 44-year-olds, and the percentage that will die is 3.9%. We're looking at 45 to 64-year-olds, 22.4% will die. When you're looking at 65 to 74-year-olds, 25% will die. We're looking above 75%. Let's see here, it is 49% die. So age is a factor, as well as, go ahead.
Because they were on a gluten diet far more, and then they got
AAA plus.
There we go. They were on it so much longer, and they have so many things wrong with them.
Yes, exactly. Well, why do they have so many things wrong with them? Because everything they have wrong with them is a nutritional deficiency. They are not factors of aging, although they say, well, you got to expect to have all these things because you're over 70 years old. No, they're all nutritional deficiency diseases, and that's one of the reasons why people like us so much is I can take somebody who's 75 years old with 20 different pre-existing conditions and get them off of gluten, get them on the 90 essential nutrients, and in 90 days all their diseases are gone. And their doctors freak out because they believe they're autoimmune and genetic and age related and so forth, which are really just nutritional deficiencies. So people should get the books and CDs. The books Hell's Kitchen, the CD Hell's Kitchen goes into the history since 1882. When Thomas Edison started electricity and everybody gave up wood ashes from the stove and the fireplace and the fire pit was not only their fertilizers for their gardens, but Grandma used to put them in her porridge and her cereal and her soup and so forth and her bread dough. And so she's getting the minerals. When you burn the wood, the carbon burned, but the minerals didn't burn. And so when we switched to electricity, the source of supplemental minerals went away. Because people weren't buying things from the health food stores or the grocery stores or the pharmacies for supplements very much back then. But it was kind of interesting that in health food stores, one of the first mineral supplements they had was mineral-rich clay. I don't know if you're probably not old enough to remember that, but they used to sell mineral-rich clay in health food stores, which is a source of minerals. Okay.
Okay.
So that was kind of interesting.
Is that specifically like the bentonite clay, or is it something else?
It varied depending on where they lived, because the number of minerals, the variety of minerals in the clay varied by where it came from.
Okay. Wow. No, I didn't remember that.
Yeah, you're probably too young. But when you look back at the the book that was written by James Hilton, Lost Horizon, in 1933, and the movie came out in 1937, Lost Horizon, same guy, James Hilton. He was a New York Times and a London Times newspaper reporter, and they sent him to Hunza, this land near the Giltar Glacier between Pakistan and China, where the average lifespan there is 165. And they had one guy by the name of Dr. Lee Chin Yun, and he claimed to be 261. So they sent him out there to debunk this guy. He spent a year following him around, doing fingerprinting and all this kind of stuff, and getting information from people who were, 70 years old and so forth. Oh yeah, he was 200 when I was 70, 70 years ago, kind of stuff, and fingerprinting him and so on. And so he wrote this story for the New York Times and the London Times. And that became the basis for the book and the movie. And he took the valley in Hunza land, where they have the highest rate of 100-year-olds, super centenarians there. They're over 110. And it was called Shangri-La. And he put it into his book and the movie, and they thought that was a mythical place, but it's actually a real place, Shangri-La. It's the name of a valley where all these long-lived people live. but they're living on minerals that come from the glacier, grinding up the rocks and the walls of the canyons. And, of course, that's the reason why the ocean is dying and all the reefs are dying, is because, ironically, we put over 1 million hydroelectric dams in all the big rivers on Earth, and we cut off the silt and mineral food supply to the ocean. So all the algae, while they're not dying out in masses, they can't function efficiently, and so they can't convert carbon dioxide into carbon chains like they normally would. And so that's why the carbon dioxide is going up. The carbon dioxide is going up because we've cut off the food supply to the ocean by damming up the rivers for our electricity, ironically. And we're going to be working it's not fossil fuels that are causing the problems. So when Tesla has sold all his cars to everybody and everybody stopped using gasoline cars, the rate of more dead reefs and more dead ocean is going to go up. Because right now we have 1 million hydroelectric dams damming up the rivers for electricity, and then we have 2 million dams damming up rivers for water conservation and irrigation. And so we're really a mess. And, of course, the medical doctors and these physicists and so forth has missed it by a million miles. They're looking at the result. They're not really looking at the basic root cause. And because of their personal beliefs and what's the word I'm looking for? Their politics, they are blaming fossil fuels so they can sell electric cars.
Will we ever go back to normal from any of that, Dr. Wallach?
I believe we will,
really
because, there's and that's part of the reason why we're having this fourth wave of the coronavirus is because you can't get enough nutrition from your food if you're eating gluten to support your immune system. And the vaccines alone won't work today like they did 100 years ago or 200 years ago before 1882 when we were still using wood ashes and putting them in the garden. And it didn't matter if you were an emperor or a king or a business owner or a fisherman or a farmer. Everybody got the same minerals from their wood ashes. But once they went to electricity, we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem, right? And that's because people went to electricity and doctors said, don't waste your money on vitamins and minerals. You're just wasting your money. Just eat well, you get everything you need. And you've probably heard that from medical doctors. Just eat well, you get everything you need. Don't take vitamins and minerals. Well, I went to my medical doctor, Dr. Randi, after you told me to take these vitamins. He said, don't waste your money on that. Just eat well, you get everything you need. Well, that'd be like saying to somebody who has trouble with their car, don't waste your money putting oil in your car. It's $3 a gallon of gasoline and $3 a quart for oil. Don't waste your money on oil. Just put a quart of dirt from Texas or Oklahoma in there at 10 cents a quart for the dirt. That's dirt from Texas and Oklahoma. There's bound to be some oil in there. An insane person wouldn't do that to their car. But that's exactly what you're doing when you just eat well and don't supplement.
Wow. I mean, some of that's exciting, Dr. Wallach, and then some of it's so disheartening. I've not heard that about the rivers and the silts and it coming from the dams and why the oceans and the reefs and stuff are dying. I hadn't heard that explanation.
I'm working on another book. It's called The Damn Dams.
Okay, I'm going to have that book for sure. I want that one. That's what I mean. Like, can we ever come back from that? We have to knock those out. How do we ever come back from that?
Okay, well, we're not going to give up electricity, so I've come up with the idea of getting augers to auger the silt from behind the dams, around them, through them, or over them, right?
Okay.
And so when they install more hydroelectric plants in the future, they will already have those augers built into the dams. And so I was actually one of the featured speakers at Tesla in 2019.
Okay.
And so you can, go to the Tesla website and get the paper and the DVD because I had all my slides and everything. And my title is called The Prescription for Mother Earth.
Oh, wow. Okay. I definitely think everyone should get that, and I'll make sure that gets put out there.
Yeah, everybody should get that. It's called The Prescription for Mother Earth, and they sell the DVD, and, of course, they have a magazine, which my paper was featured in it, Prescription for Mother Earth.
Outstanding. That's something to get behind, not taxing everybody to death. What you came up with So I'm going to make sure that gets out there. All right, we are running out of time, and this was fascinating. I definitely want to talk about a couple of clients. Because I don't have the height, weight, or age, I'm going to say the gentleman is at least above 60. So if we want to do this based on a 100-pound person, COPD. He's suffering from and he's telling me that it's very red under his tongue.
Okay. Well, COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, is a peripheral neuropathy. It's actually, when you have osteoporosis of the skull, squeezing the 10th cranial nerve, the vagus nerve, which causes COPD. It's a dry, non-productive cough, no fever, nothing like that. And also, oftentimes, not always, but often, when you have COPD, you'll also have hiccups a lot, because there's a branch of that the 10th cranial nerve, the vagus nerve, called the recurrent nerve, which controls your diaphragm. And when that 10th cranial nerve gets squeezed, the origins of that recurrent nerve get squeezed, and you get hiccups. Okay?
Okay.
Also, he could have numbness and tingling in his hands and wrist. It's kind of like sciatica of the shoulder girdle, because the skull is squeezing the spinal cord as it comes out of the back of the skull. Most people don't realize it, Dr. Randi, that the spinal cord is formed in the brain, comes out of the back of the skull through that big hole called foramen magnum, which is Latin for big hole. And when your skull has osteoporosis, it gets bigger. Instead of being a quarter of an inch thick like it does when it's healthy, it gets to be an inch thick. It used to be called Paget's disease, and they switched it over now to Wallach's disease because Paget thought it was a genetic thing, but it's really just a nutritional deficiency thing. So that hole that the spinal cord is coming through gets 50% smaller in diameter, squeezes the spinal cord. You start getting all this stuff going on in the arms, and you can also get it in the legs. So you can, just like you have low back stuff, you get upper back stuff when you get this the spinal cord being squeezed by the skull. So, you ready?
Yes, go for it.
Here we go. Per 100 pounds of body weight. And we don't know if he has diabetes or high blood pressure, because when they have it under control, the symptoms are under control with the drugs, they don't say anything about that, right? Well, I've already got that one under control. Well, it's a nutritional deficiency disease, and the drug is just getting with the symptoms. So you need to ask him about those. But at any rate.
Okay.
Let's per 100 pounds of body weight, I'd give him one healthy brain and heart pack per month. Get another bottle of our selenium if he only weighs 110 or 120 pounds, which is not uncommon in people over 70, 80 years old. And so he needs to get another bottle of our selenium so he can take 3 twice a day per 100 pounds of body weight. And it's not only for the selenium, but there's 5 cofactors in there, so he can't just go to Walgreens and buy some selenium, okay? It's got to be our selenium with 5 cofactors, especially if he's got gray hair and varicose veins, because he's prone to dying from a ruptured aneurysm, which is caused by a deficiency of that one cofactor, okay? Then he also needs MSM to help rebuild the bone marrow and cartilage and ligaments and tendons, connective tissue, and bone matrix 3 twice a day per 100 pounds of body weight. That's 1 bottle a month per 100 pounds of body weight. And then he needs vitamin D3, 3 of those twice a day per 100 pounds of body weight. That's 2 bottles a month per 100 pounds of body weight. He needs the collagen, the GLUCO gel, to help rebuild cartilage, ligaments, tendons, connective tissue, bone matrix in the skull and the bone marrow and so forth. So that would be... the capsules would be 2 bottles a month, so you can take 5 of those twice a day. The liquid would be 2 quarts a month, so you can take an ounce twice a day. And let's see here. Then I would also throw in our, let's see here, Fucoid Z with 8 or 9 different algae and seaweeds in there, so you can get those weird trace minerals, and have him take 3 of those twice a day per 100 pounds of body weight. It's 2 bottles a month. If he prefers the liquid, we have Z Radical, which is the liquid form of the Fucoid Z, same 8 or 9 different seaweeds, and he could take an ounce of that twice a day per 100 pounds of body weight. Okay?
Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. And if we can do one more very quick, it would be a 66-year-old woman, female, 5 foot, 98 pounds, and she has thinning of the hair and fine. It's become fine. She doesn't have a ton of energy. She has a digestive issue. And I think that's all I have written for her.
Okay, well, she's about 100 pounds, right? And and she's losing hair. Does she have gray hair? Is her hair gray or white?
It is gray. She colors it. And I did see blockage under her tongue. I saw the blue to purple veins underneath.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Does she have varicose veins of her legs, do you know? Does she have ringing in her ears or dizziness?
No.
Okay. All right. So at 100 pounds, I'd have her take one healthy brain and heart pack per month. None of the bad foods, no fried foods, no processed meats, no oils, no gluten, no wheat, rhinos, no sugar. You know that, Joel, so I don't have to dwell on that. One healthy brain and heart pack per month. Get her another bottle of Slim, so you can take 3 of those twice a day. I'd have her get 1 bottle of our MSM, so you can take 3 of those twice a day. Vitamin D3, 3 twice a day. That's 1 bottle a month. And she needs the GLUCO gel. I'd have her get 1 bottle a month, so she could take 3 of those twice a day, the GLUCO gel capsules, or she could take a half ounce of the GLUCO gel liquid twice a day, so it'll be 1 quart per month. Okay. And let's see here. I would also have her take the Fucoid Z. She'd go ahead and have 3 of those capsules twice a day, or a half an ounce of the liquid Z Radical twice a day.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Well, we are out of time, Dr. Wallach. This was fascinating. Got into some new stuff that I still hadn't gotten out of you before, so this is great. And now we have a new book on the horizon. That's even better. So, Dr. Wallach, thank you so much for your time. You are such a blessing to so many. And I can't wait to meet up with you again next week.
Okay. Well, God bless you. Thank you so much for all you do. You're an angel of God, and we all love you for it, dear. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Thank you so much. For those of you that want to get scheduled to talk with Dr. Randi, please reach out at 319-804-9163. And for any of Dr. Wallach's books, it's drjwallach.com. drjwallach.com. And you can find any of his publications. There's amazing Dead Doctors Don't Lie, Part 1 and 2, best-selling book of all time next to the Bible. Have a great week, everyone.